Hello, welcome in everybody. As always, from Sports Profit TV, this is the MLS Live podcast. I'm your host, Cooper, with my co-host, Garrett. As always, these are our Twitter handles here, so follow us there. Follow the podcast at MLS Live Podcast on Twitter. Occasionally a bonus nugget there, a bonus play, news, discussion, all that good stuff over there at the Twitter handle for the podcast. We are off a little break. Didn't have time because of the 4th of July holiday last week to get a full episode in. Luckily, if you follow us on Twitter, I think Garrett had a 5-1 week for MLS. I had a 2-0 week for MLS with my clients. So both of us had a nice bounce back week. And like I said, if you do follow Garrett on Twitter, hopefully you got a piece of that cake because it was a good one. And other than that, I just want to mention this will be our last MLS podcast before Leagues Cup starts. And now we are talking about which Leagues Cup, if you're not familiar, MLS and Liga MX have struck up a deal, an interleague deal, where they're going to have a full-on group play style tournament where they start in group play and they end up going into a knockout round. It's going to be all 16 Liga MX clubs, all 30 Major League Soccer. Are we at 30 or 32 for Major League Soccer?
30.
Yeah, all 30 Major League Soccer clubs. And they're putting them together. We're going to have a really fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's, they've made the stakes high enough now with the money and the prize money and all the stuff. I think teams will actually try a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. Garrett and I are discussing potentially doing Leagues Cup show. So you guys don't have too far of a dry run without MLS, which I think will be really fun because I actually handicap, Liga MX, and I know Garrett gets his feet wet a little bit as well. So it's going to be interesting. But right now we're talking about Saturday's games, Major League Soccer. We got a ton of player news to get into. It's that time of year where you got transfer news flying around, all kinds of stuff to get into. But let me pull up some of this info. And Garrett, any introduction for you, bud?
No, man, it's good to be back. Yeah, Leagues Cup kicks off. I think it's like two more games before Leagues Cup, and then the league doesn't come back until like August 19th or August 20th. So it's a full-on month break with a World Cup style tournament, which will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It is a full month, this is unprecedented. It's never been done before with these two leagues. Of course, we've always had Champions League, but this is totally different. This is an interleague tournament. I was a little weary of it at first because it felt like a bit of a money grab, and maybe it is, but maybe we can have our cake and eat it too and enjoy the games and have it mean a little something.
For me, it's a fun contest because the debate's always out there. What league? Where are the leagues now? MLS versus Liga MX. But what's key here for me is this gives most of the MLS sides time to bring in these transfers over the summer and get them acclimated to the team, get visa issues sorted, get them fit if they're coming over from Europe or they've been in an off season and ready to go when regular season starts back. We're almost at the 65% mark as far as how much is gone from the season already. So this after Leagues Cup, that final stretch is going to be real interesting because you won't have as hard of an acclimation period as you typically do when teams bring in some of the bigger summer signings.
That's a good point. And then another way from a handicapping perspective, and this is my last note on Leagues Cup, and we'll get to team and player news. But typically when we're talking about Major League Soccer teams competing against Liga MX, Major League Soccer has always been at a disadvantage because it's right in the middle of Liga MX's season, and they have, they're in full form. MLS is dealing with rust, and it's always been such a disadvantage for Major League Soccer. Now it's the opposite. Liga MX just barely kicked off their season, and we're more than halfway through ours here in Major League Soccer. So that will be taken into account with the handicapping, which teams are sharp, which teams are still dealing with some rust. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, like I said, tons of player news to get to. We were just talking about Leagues Cup. Of course, Messi will be making his Major League Soccer debut the first game of Leagues Cup against Cruz Azul, I believe, which is going to be potentially the most watched Major League Soccer match of all time. That's including a major league team. I mean, everybody all over the world is going to be watching. So, going to be really, really uncharted territory. Really fun to watch and see how that goes. But on that note, we have some player news. Jordi Alba deal is done to enter Miami. And also, kind of in the same thread here, there's gonna be a Messi unveiling, so to speak, at the Gold Cup final on Sunday. Garrett, you got some nuggets for that?
Yeah, it's going to be at halftime. Apple TV Plus is going to stream it, but Fox, Univision, some other channels are actively negotiating to get some rights to be able to televise it as well. Like it's a massive deal. It's going to feel kind of like a Super Bowl halftime show. There's going to be lots of entertainment, different stuff going on. I mean, it is crazy the activity buzzing around this. Or maybe it's not, given that Messi is probably the best player in the world or the best player to ever play the game. I don't know. Like he's up there in the conversation with Pele, Maradona. Like so, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's never been a player come into MLS who's had a halftime revealing, and it's everyone's wanted to televise it. I don't even know how to digest that.
Yeah, it's different. It's great. I mean, like we said before the show, they are rightfully squeezing all the juice out of these lemons that they possibly can, and they need to be doing that. That's absolutely what you do when you pay somebody what they're paying Messi and giving him the assets that he's going to be getting down the road. But it's been fun.
And Miami's making moves, a lot of moves here right now. Sergio's in, Messi's in, Alba's in on a TAM deal. He's not a DP. It really looks like they're going to keep Campagna on as a young DP. And if they do that, they're going to use all three of their under 22 initiative slots. They're talking for a guy from Newell. They're talking, there's names being tossed around. I don't really dive into it too much until it's confirmed, and then I want to do my homework. But they're bringing in the vets, and then just trying to flood it with young South American talent and seeing where they can take this team. It's wild how terrible Miami season has been in this first half so far. The excitement here for the second half.
Yeah, and realistically, the ship can be turned around. Like I was arguing with one of the MLS accounts on Twitter that I like a lot of those guys, but some of those guys seem to be all knowing at times, and so it's funny to argue with them. He was saying something like Miami would have to mathematically have to be the best team in Major League Soccer to make the playoffs from the day that Messi gets there until the end of the season. And I said, well, they might be like it's not that far fetched if things come together and they have the whole month of Leagues Cup to get to know each other and to gel. They're going to be really good. I mean, Messi arguably is still the best player in the world, and he's going to be here. He's so good that MLS haters on Twitter and MLS haters all over the world that love to just talk crap about our league, they've been pretty quiet since Messi, decided and the deal has been finalized that he's coming to Miami. They've been pretty quiet because what can they say? I mean, he's not washed. It's not like we're getting a washed up player. We're still getting we're getting Messi.
No, I mean, this Miami team is bad. Like, they deserve to be where they are, but you bring in the right pieces. Tata is officially the coach now. His visa's been sorted out. So you brought in one of the best coaches currently in MLS to Miami now that Tata's back. And it's going to be interesting. They got Leagues Cup and they've got US Open Cup to figure it out, to find a winning solution. It's hard for me to be like, yes, they're going to make the playoffs. As we've talked about, this year is not the year that they're targeting. It was always 24, but who knows, man? I mean, I wasn't expecting this many under 22, initiatives to try to be targeted all at one time. So we'll see. I think they have the forwards figured out in Campagna and Joseph. It's everything else that's been a mess. I mean, and if you've got strikers, Messi can feed you. So we'll see. Maybe they just need to score 6 goals a game. I don't know, but it's a fun time in Miami, regardless.
Yeah, watch how quickly Josef Martinez turns into a goal scoring machine again with Messi providing service. It's going to be fun. But on that same note, we're going to segue into Pizarro. Still, I guess, officially with Miami, but it looks like he's out the door. Of course, they had to make room for a lot of these new acquisitions. He's heading to Greece, the Super League there in Greece. Looks like he's going to AEK Athens, which is one of the bigger clubs in Greece. I don't even really know what there is to say about this. I mean, he's gone.
There's not much. He was a DP. They knew they had to get rid of him.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays Messi's position. And I think his DP status and that salary kept other MLS teams from being interested. So he gets shipped off to Europe over in Greece. And that's that. I think Gregor is going to get bought down. And there you have it. That's how the roster is being made.
Yeah, which Gregor is out for the season anyway, right?
He's training.
Oh, he's training. Okay.
I mean, like that, the injury was rough, but he is training. So I don't know when we'll see him. I mean, like he's been out the whole season pretty much, but we should see him at some point.
That was a huge loss for that team too. I mean, he was one of their very best players. Cool. We've got some striker news, which everybody loves strikers because they're strikers. They score the goals. So interested to talk about these two guys. Two players have come in here. One guy on loan, Thomas Chanclay. I probably butchered the pronunciation. Apologies. He's comes in from Racing Club, Argentine Giants there in that league. He comes in on loan to the Revs. Now I went back and looked at him because he played at the same club that Enzo Copetti played for, which of course he's now the striker, star striker for Charlotte. He's dealing with an injury of his own, but they actually played side by side at Racing Club. Chanclay did play a forward position, but not necessarily a 9. Now he does have experience playing a 9 because he went to the United Arab Emirates and actually played 9 every game there for the team in the United Arab Emirates. So I guess he could play either. I didn't get time to flip the film on or anything and give you my personal scouting opinion. But looks like a good addition for the Revs, right?
Yeah, it's a loan deal with an option to buy. If the Revs pick up that option, he becomes a designated player in 24. That's kind of the big news here is anytime you're using up one of those DP spots. But the Revs have a good team for the most part, but I'm sorry, Bobby Wood is your starting striker, and Bobby Wood's never done it.
I knew this was coming.
So he can be having a good season right now. That dude just ain't it. So I don't know if Tomas is, but I like it when these teams bring in a loan with an option to buy because then they get to make sure it fits because you don't want to screw up that designated player spot. And then we have Bakar for coming from, was it Croatia?
Yeah, and I know this team. I just want to say real quick because this is one of the worst teams in the Croatian top flight last year. He didn't have overwhelming stats, but with that being said, he may have been one of, if not the only, good player on their team. And I remember specifically, they were just a really bad team, so really tough. Obviously, New York City sees something in him to go and get him from a team like that, where he didn't really produce like crazy numbers or anything.
Well, NYC is all about profits. Like that. That is what this NYC team is. But this looks like they feel like they have their Castellanos replacement here. This dude's a true 9. Once he starts, I think you're going to see also the best of Magno as it pushes Magno out to the wings.
Oh, that's a good point.
And European scouts have said Magno can be a European competition winger. Like he's got that potential. He's just not a 9, man. Like he wants to run at you and take you on one-on-one. And he does that best coming out of the wing instead of having to make runs for the ball coming from that 9 spot. So I like a move for a striker, no matter who it is for NYC, because they have the talent in midfield and on the wings to create a lot of chances if they just have a competent nine. I watched a little bit of his highlights. I like his runs. I don't think he's incompetent.
Yeah.
Finishing is always like, we'll find out, right? Like, it's hard to tell just in highlights, because in the highlights you're finishing every shot.
Right.
But no, this is NYC getting a 9. It's been needed since Castellanos left. It's been needed for 8-9 months. So this is big for NYC.
So let me ask you this. I've already seen like some transfers that like the deals are done. Like Pookie, his deal was done. He's already on the field and played off the bench for Minnesota. The transfer window is completely open. So like when the deal's done, as soon as Visa's taken care of, like he can play now, right?
Yeah. It's just visas is always the holdup, right? Like those could take up to 3 weeks sometimes. So, and that's always hard information to figure out of when somebody's actually eligible to play from a visa status. So that's just one we have to watch. Cincy's new striker, he's in Cincinnati. He's been training. I'm waiting to see if we're going to see him on the bench that midweek or this weekend. I would think by this weekend at most. That deal was done a couple weeks ago, so I would hope all of that paperwork is done. But yeah, visas is always the issue for guys coming to MLS.
Yeah, Bupenza for Cincinnati. I can't wait to see the guy on the field. He's dynamic player. And on that note, NYCFC, they're actually playing really well right now. They are undefeated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're undefeated in their last 8. Only one win in those 8, but definitely turning the corner from the way they started the season.
They just need to score. They just need to score.
Yeah, so this could be hopefully a nice remedy for their offense. A couple more nuggets here. American soccer news. Obviously, we do cover American soccer news as well. The deal for Captain America Pulisic to AC Milan, the deal is done. I'm a fan of the signing. I think he's gonna get on the field. He's gonna be a focal part of the attack there, and I like AC Milan. I like the way that they play. I think he'll fit in nicely.
I'm a big fan of it. AC Milan is an Italian giant. This is probably the biggest club you could go to from a historical standpoint in Italy. So I think anytime somebody's going to AC Milan, it's a big deal. He might not be the only one either. Balogun has been rumored with AC Milan. So we'll see where that goes if it takes root. Brandon Aronson is going on loan to Union Berlin. I love that move. I think Aronson actually thrives in Germany, and it's a big get for Union Berlin. And then Timothy Way to Juventus. So lots of U.S. stars on the move, which we knew they would be this summer. I think all of those are positive moves. All of those are moves to get guys more playing time, which is, of course, what you want leading up to the 26 World Cup.
Do we know is Musa sticking around at Valencia?
Maybe. I don't know. Like Valencia's open to selling him. I just think they've gotten an offer that they like. But he's getting plenty of play time there. Like if he stays at Valencia, it doesn't bother me. Like that man's seeing the field nonstop. Yeah,
that's a good point. Right on. Positive news, positive American soccer news there. One last nugget here to get to on some trades and loans, and then we will get to predictions. Opoku from LAFC has been traded. Gutman and Ibarra. Well, Gutman traded from Atlanta. Ibarra loaned from Atlanta. Let's talk about those first, and then we'll round it out with the Moreno situation. I saw you post something on Twitter, or I think it was on Discord when you sent me the message about Ibarra, basically saying like the loan is a little bit peculiar because they don't have anybody really left in the midfield. Like they loaned out their best midfielder.
Well, they had to loan out their best midfielder because that was the only midfielder or under 22 initiative player. They have 4 players. You can only have 3 under the under 22 initiative. This is just terrible roster mismanagement by Atlanta. Like there's no other way to describe it. So
yeah.
you have 4 under 22 initiative players. They had one of the dudes sent back early from his loan in South America because he's sucks. They're like, this dude's not going to see the field. We're going to
Right.
cancel this loan. So that gives them 4. And the only dude who was going to get any interest was Ibarra, their best midfielder. So they've got Muyumba coming in. I don't, again, visa issues. I don't know when we'll actually see him, but it looks like it's going to be him and Sosa in the double pivot with Ibarra going to Toronto. This is called a big rift with Ibarra. It's hard for me to see him coming back to Atlanta at this point. Like, I think he's going to have to get moved permanently somewhere. He didn't know, and this is partly on his agent, I guess. He didn't know you could be traded. So in the MLS, because European players don't do this, right? Like, you don't get traded where you don't have negotiating rights. Like, your contract and everything moves on to the other team.
It's very American.
Of course, Toronto took him. He's a great addition to Toronto. He will start right away and help that team. But Ibarra's pissed about it. So I don't know what this looks like, but yeah, ultimately terrible roster management made Atlanta send their best under 22 initiative player off to the worst team in MLS. It's actually like hilarious how terrible of a move this ultimately is, and by their own hand. And
it's crazy because
go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick response about Atlanta. It's wild. You loan out your best midfielder because you mismanaged your roster, and now Giamakis is injured for I don't know how long.
He's training separately right now, but you can technically train separately for weeks. Like, I don't know. They're listing him as week to week. So
do they have an Araujo replacement? Are they trying to get somebody, or is this their attack now?
They haven't made a replacement for him yet. Etienne basically beat him out, and so but Wiley now is playing that spot. Although that's changing now with this Gutman trade. So it's interesting because this Gutman trade signifies that Atlanta is moving fully to the back 3 because they're just defensively garbage. And this is that the movement has helped them, but it made Gutman surplus. He had 1 year left on his deal, so might as well get something for him. Ship him off to Colorado, where he's made an instant impact. Good for him. A serviceable MLS player. Gutman doesn't blow me away by any means, but like, he's not a guy that you're like, dang, he's on my team. Like, you're not going to be dissatisfied with him. I guess I'll say it like that. This moves Wiley out to a permanent like wing back role where he's going to run the entire sideline. And then, so yeah, but Atlanta's that place is on fire right now. And then you've got Opoku moving to Montreal, and it's so funny because I tweeted out during the LAFC match, like, Opoku is just a speed merchant right now at this point in his career. He's still young. I think he's 22, 23, but he's speed, man. When you watch him, he just makes bad decisions in the final third once he gets the ball. And so I was like, if LAFC can move him like for a decent amount, they absolutely should. And I think like 18 hours later, he's been traded to Montreal for $1.75 million, which I think is a great deal for LAFC.
So do I.
Biuk is going to slot right in now as the starter. They were high on this kid when they got him anyway. And they get somebody who I think actually hurt their attack in the long run in Opoku off of the books. This now gives Montreal an interesting setup. And Montreal likes speed. They like to press. Opoku can do that. I don't think he helps you a ton in the final third. And then their other forward, they have Kyoto. I see him very much kind of like an Opoku, a speed merchant. Finishing isn't great.
Better finisher, probably.
He's going to press for you. So I'm still trying to figure out what this next chapter for Montreal looks like after last season. I don't love the move for Montreal, but they had a ton of GAM general allocation money from all the deals they did over the offseason, moving all those players. So, I mean, they had some fun money to play with. So I guess I don't hate Opoku. He's very much a one-trick pony for me right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's funny to me that Montreal has somehow crept up to that ninth play-in spot when they were far and away the worst team in the league for the first month or so.
It's purely on home form. Like that's the crazy part to me. It is purely on when they play at home, they just don't lose.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
you've got Moreno for Portland. He requested a trade, and now apparently he missed training today. There was no injury designation. Portland's denying a rift and saying there's not like any issues, but Moreno has made it very clear he wants out, and to be moved either to another team or out of the league. This is the reason why this is a talking point for me is because over the offseason, Portland turned down a $2 million offer for Moreno from another MLS side.
Mm.
And so now you've got him wanting out and you turned down a $2 million offer for him just months ago. So just a little interesting development there in Portland. And then one guy not listed here that I do just want to briefly talk about is Rafael Navarro coming from Palermo to the Rapids. He is a striker. The Rapids need a striker. It is a loan. And then if they decide to trigger his purchase option, I think the purchase option is like somewhere between 4.5 and $5 million. That just blows away their record transfer. I think right now it's sitting at 1.2 or 1.5 million is the most the Rapids have ever spent on a player. So 5 million for a 23-year-old Brazilian is a big deal. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, I think it's a smart move, just like New England, bringing a guy on loan, seeing if you can make it work. That way you don't just swing and miss on this DP spot.
From Palmeiras in Brazil, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And if there's any Rapids fans listening to the podcast or listening later, they're at this point, Rapids fans are begging Stan Kroenke to spend some money because Kroenke owns Arsenal, he owns the Rams, he owns the Avalanche, he owns a lot of teams that he puts a lot of money into, and the Rapids fans have been begging him for years at this point to spend some money and invest in the soccer club as well. So hopefully that happens. All right. Now we are getting to a fun part of the show here. We're talking predictions. Of course, I think Garrett, just like always, will start us off. Of course, we are contending with midweek as well, so doing a little bit of guesswork. It throws another element into it, but we haven't gotten destroyed when there are midweek matches. Actually, we've kind of held our own. So knock on wood, and we'll see if we can keep it going. But Garrett, you can kick us off.
Yeah, it's just you really got to pick your spots here. When most of these teams are going to be on short rest, it's hard to know what the rotation is going to look like, especially with the Leagues Cup here right around the corner. But to kick us off, I'm going to go with, which one do you have first? The Rapids?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Rapids team total over 1.5. Getting this at plus money. You saw 2 goals from the Rapids last game. They're at home again. I have to grab them here for team total. They're playing Houston on the road. Houston's playing midweek. I love fading Houston on the road. They have not been a strong road team this year. They have the 3rd worst expected goals against when they're on the road in the league. The Rapids' expected goals at home is now double what their actual goals is at home. So that's a big enough gap now where I'm interested, right? Like, especially if they've got a little confidence, if they think they found something in the attack. I would love to have Diego Rubio back. He hasn't played in a minute. He's questionable right now. If he's back this weekend, I think it's at best on a bench spot. But as soon as he gets back, that attack does get a little better. Carrasquilla is still with Panama. That's probably Houston's 2nd best player overall, and they're in the midfield next to Herrera. He's still with Panama. They're playing Wednesday, so I can't see any of these international guys who are playing Wednesday still for the Gold Cup coming in and playing Saturday. So I'm just going to go ahead and cap it like he's not in it. And yeah, I think based on everything, short rest for Houston, Colorado at home, just finally got some goals here at home in their last match with 2 at plus 125 versus, I mean, Houston's given up 2 or more goals in 6 of their 11 away games. I've talked about the expected goals against, where that's at. Yeah, this is a spot where I'm going to take a stab at some plus money in what might be a tough weekend.
Yep, I like that mindset. You know, when you're contending with midweek here, you know, be bold and take your shots. Don't stray away from plus money. Do not try for low hanging fruit. On a week like this, it usually doesn't go well. So I'm definitely on board with the price tag here, and I like this spot. I actually was really kicking myself last Rapids game. I told myself I think the team total over 1.5 is a good spot. And then I spooked myself off by looking at their last like 6 games. They had only scored like 1 goal. They were on a little, just a little bit of a scoring funk. And but I like it. Like you said, I think they've kind of captured their confidence a little bit here. And Houston still, while they have improved, still not great defensively. And in fact, they've actually had some games where they've allowed like 4 goals on the road, 6 goals on the road, 3 goals on the road. So definitely,
your money line is a better price. Colorado their last home game was their first home win of the season. Remember, I said we're almost 65% through the season. They've just gotten their first home win. So I am not trying to get cute by playing the team total over 1.5. I don't think you can trust this team to win. Like, it's just, you only at this point it is a bad team. It's not just bad luck. So I'm hoping to get some see some turnaround here based on the matchup. But yeah, I'm not backing this team to win.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. Which is funny because it's been such a fortress there, you know, in Denver because of the elevation. But it's just been kind of an odd year.
Wild, man. It's been a wild year for some of these teams.
No kidding. TDC LLC checking in. He says he's late. That's all right. At least you're here. We appreciate you tuning in and everybody else.
That's the first pick, man. You didn't miss nothing.
Yeah, there you go. If you want to go back and watch the player news, there were some pretty juicy nuggets. So you can always feel free to go back and rewatch. But I'll go ahead and get to my pick here for the show. I'm going to going to Salt Lake City here. And RSL and New York Red Bull, both teams to score at minus 140. This is right on the edge of my juice limit, which is about minus 140. Sometimes I'll play a little bit more than that if I think it's exceptional value, but this is pretty much the most I typically spend. And honestly, RSL's attack is starting to look absurd. I mean, this attack is starting to look really good. Obviously, if you watched the last match, Chicho Arango comes in. RSL spent $7 million to buy him and bring him in from Pachuca. And I thought what was a little bit weird is that he scored 5 goals in his last 5 games at Pachuca. So I thought it was kind of weird that they didn't want to retain him. I don't know if he got along with their coach because the first couple games he didn't even start for Pachuca. So, you know, maybe something stylistically just wasn't fitting there, but he was scoring there. He was scoring at LAFC, and he's scoring his first game here back with RSL. He is a bucket machine. This guy just scores goals. And then not only that, and tell me if you disagree, you know, after I go through this, but this might be the deepest attack in Major League Soccer as far as starters and quality replacements. These guys are just so deep. You got Arango now, you got Krylock, you got Luna, who is incredibly talented. I think he's like 20 years old. Severino, and then you got guys that are not even there right now. Rubin, who is still playing, or no, actually he might be back because I think he was with Guatemala, so he'll be back. You got Vasovsky, you got Julio. They just got Miram from Charlotte. So these guys are just absurdly deep as far as the attack goes, and they've been performing really well. They're also, as far as when it comes to conceding goals, they're fourth worst in Major League Soccer in expected goals allowed, only behind Miami, San Jose, and Charlotte. So all four of those just brutally bad defensively. So obviously I feel good about RSL scoring a goal at home here. That's kind of a given when you're playing both teams to score. So now we look at New York Red Bull. I think that Troy Lesesne is kind of getting things going in the right direction. He's kind of got his feet under him now. I think, he's got the players buying in. They've scored 9 goals in their last 4. Barlow is finally fully healthy. Luquinhas, who was dealing with some injuries, he's fully healthy. Van Zier is finally starting and going full 90. And they've just looked better. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk too much about New York Red Bull analytically, because their analytics have always been good. They've always had a really high expected goal total. They have the number 2 expected goal to expected goals allowed difference in Major League Soccer. But none of that's ever really mattered with them, because they've had an issue finishing chances. But now you got Van Zier on the field. You got all your other pieces healthy in attack. The eyeball test for me is why I trust them to score a goal on the road at RSL, because they've just looked better. They look more cohesive. They look good, and I think both teams score a goal here.
No, it's hard to not go with that argument for Real Salt Lake. I really like this attack. If I thought the defense was going to be better, I would say at plus 4,000, they are an interesting team from a future standpoint to win it all, because I think they can hang with any team offensively. The defense is still suspect enough for me where I think that's the letdown this year. That's what's going to cost them. But I said when they made the deal for Arango, this is a playoff team. They will be in the playoffs. I fully believe that. They're now sliding into playoff contention. This spot is interesting because there's just so much I don't know what it's going to look like come Saturday. You've got both teams play Wednesday. Real Salt Lake's on the road. Red Bulls are at home. Red Bulls, when they go on the road, 10 games, 5 goals scored. They do look better. They are healthier. It's just Red Bulls are always like can be a bugaboo, right? Because we talked about it. Anytime you're playing the big energy drink soccer, you're going to break models for better or for worse. Philly constantly scores more goals than they are expected to score. Red Bulls, it feels like, consistently score less goals than they are expected to score. I think you can chalk that up to attacking talent overall, but both teams play a similar big energy drink, as they call it, style of soccer. That does it breaks your statistical models, and you do have to use more of an eye test. And so I don't have anything against this, because there's just so many unknowns right now for me outside of New York Red Bulls on the road are always a little scary. We know the West Coast dominance. I don't know what RSL is money line for this game. It's a good price. So like maybe once I see midweek, make sure both teams get through, no big injuries, nothing like that. This might be a spot where I'm interested in Real Salt Lake to win. And I just talked about how I think their defense is suspect. So I think some ultimate value here could be combining the two and a little sprinkle on Real Salt Lake plus both teams to score. Red Bull's defense is pretty solid, but I mean, this attack is up there with the best in MLS now. So I think you could make an argument they could score 2 on anybody. So no, this is a fun game. I'm going to be definitely watching this one and looking forward to it as I start to see how this attack unfolds and what Red Bulls can do now that they're a little healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. Good analysis there. I think that we have yet to see Van Zier get a chance to string games together and get his groove. And I think he's finally getting that. And he's obviously their most talented finisher as far as, finishing goals. So
Red Bulls,
Yeah.
they got Aquinas back, their Brazilian. He missed a good chunk of time with an injury.
Yeah,
They
that's big.
desperately need Lewis Morgan back. I would love to see Lewis Morgan, Aquinas, and Van Zier all in the field together and see what that actually looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this next game, your last pick here to round out the show, gonna be in Portland, at my favorite venue in MLS by far. I honestly, I've got to plan a trip and go see a game there because I love the venue. But I got to hear your analysis here because I know. Look, I know part of it is Cucho's on a red, but I got to hear the rest.
All right, so yeah, I'm playing an uncomfortable under 3 and eating some juice. Neither team is playing midweek, so both teams will be well rested. Fun Portland stat, okay? In their last 10 games, their only goal scorers have been Bali or Evander. As of right now, Evander is listed as out.
Ooh.
He missed last game for an injury. I haven't seen a reliable update that says he's training or anything like that. So I'm handicapping this as if he is out for this game as well. But yeah, so 10 games, those are only 2 goal scorers. You're now missing 50% of your goal contributions over the last 10 games if Evander is out. So it leaves just Bali up top. Cucho's on a red. I think that's a big deal for Columbus. And now Portland. So now I'm capping this as like, okay, I think this I want the 3 because I want push protection. That's why I'm eating the juice. I'm not trying to go any higher than that, but I definitely don't love the 2.75 to save a little juice here. The over 3.5 at home for Portland is only hitting 30% of the time, like full game total. Crew over 3.5 away is only hitting 40% of the time. We know Crew score goals, but here I think you've got 2 key figures for both teams potentially missing. I'm going to just roll the dice here, like I said, on a tough week and try to find a spot that I think this total is just too high given who's not there and how these teams match up. Because don't forget, Portland also got the new center back from Peru.
That's right.
So Portland's got some center back depth now. That they were super thin earlier in the year. I think that's going to help them. So yeah, it's not comfortable. I don't love it, but I would much rather be on the under 3 than the over 3, given who I think's missing.
Yeah, I think we've done pretty well on uncomfortable plays, or not necessarily a hold your nose play, but typically things turn out well when you know it's the right spot. And look, unders are never that comfortable. I mean, like there's money to be made picking your spots on unders. And I said it the other day on Twitter because I actually played an under. I lost it in the first half. And the thing about unders is that you feel like such a dumbass when it goes over. And if it goes over quickly, because everyone wants to play overs. So if you play an under and you lose, it's just like you just feel like a loser.
When you're on an under, though, you are winning from the kickoff. There's not too many plays that you can say you're winning as soon as the game kicks off. So
that's a good point. I think our guy HU Capper actually mentioned that the other day. I think I saw him say that. Shout out to HU, by the way. But yeah, I mean, I would not play the over here without Cucho and Evander. I mean, no way. Like, so I like the push protection. I think if this one goes your way and you don't have to deal with some goofy deflections or anything like that, hopefully it's not too sweaty. And
the push protection is a must for me here. If your book doesn't offer the under 3, then feel free to parlay the 3.5 with something you like. But like I said, I do not want to go any lower than 3.
Yeah, and this is another one too. I'll say real quick. I think that it probably moves as long as Evander remains out, and because people check injury news like throughout the week and start to kind of pick up on what's going on, and then you see that line move once people finally realize who's gonna be missing. So another perk of tuning in on Tuesdays with us. I don't know what our CLV has been like Like I haven't tracked it every show of the year, but I guarantee you we've been on the right side more often than not as far as closing line value. But that's pretty much it.
Still have midweek action though. I've already posted plays. I know you watched lineups and look for live looks on midweek action. So
Yeah.
should definitely be following both of us. If you want to get on some midweek action, just tossed out a Gold Cup play right before we went live here. So plenty of footy on Wednesday, and then I will absolutely have more come Saturday once midweek is over and I get to see a little more of who lined up where we are with injuries, suspensions, all that jazz.
Yeah, and then just a normal reminder, please hit a thumbs up on the video. That helps us as far as like search engine algorithm, all that stuff, so more people can see the show and hang out with us and tell our plays and win together. That's what it's all about. That's what makes this so fun. There's nothing more fun than winning with friends and winning with others. And then real quick, we did mention it earlier in the show. We got a full month after Saturday of Leagues Cup with Liga MX, and Major League Soccer. We're going to look at the schedule and see like when the group games are going to be played and see if we can work out shows during Leagues Cup. But worst case scenario, we'll do something like Spaces or something on Twitter to give you guys our favorite looks for Leagues Cup. That's going to be a fun one.
And you need to be following the show on Twitter, so if we are going to try to throw up a show. I'm confident in my MLS knowledge. Cooper, I mean, Liga MX is one of his leagues. Like that is a league he just enjoys for some sick, twisted reason. And so it would be a fun show. Absolutely.
Yeah, it will be fun. So we'll definitely keep you guys updated on that. Mike Rohde, thanks for tuning in. New follower. We love that. Thanks for make sure you're subscribing so you don't miss anything in the future. And like Garrett said, we are at MLS Live Podcast on Twitter, so follow us there. And that's all I got. Garrett, anything else?
No, as always, best of luck to whatever you're on this week and this weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you sometime.
Yeah, we'll let you know. See you guys. We'll let you know. Bye.